They say love makes you blind, but betrayal? That opens your eyes real wide. What I'm about to tell you isn't just another expat horror story from Bangkok's neon-lit streets. It's about how I discovered the woman I trusted was playing me like a fiddle, and how I got my revenge in the most unexpected way possible. If you enjoy these real expat stories, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Your support keeps these stories coming. Sometimes you think you're the player, but you're actually getting played. And in Bangkok's nightlife scene, that lesson can cost you everything. I'd been bouncing between countries for 3 years, working remotely as a software consultant. The money was decent, but I was getting tired of hotel rooms and temporary everything. When my company offered me a permanent remote position, I knew exactly where I wanted to set up base. Bangkok had been calling my name since my first visit 2 years ago, not just for the obvious reasons every guy talks about, but because of the energy, the culture, the way life moved at a different pace. I could work my Western hours, make Western money, and live like a king. I found the perfect one-bedroom condo in Thonglo, modern, spacious, with a killer view of the city skyline. The rent was a fraction of what I'd pay back home in Chicago. Everything was falling into place. But here's the thing about fresh starts. They make you vulnerable to fresh mistakes. I wasn't looking for love when I walked into that bar on Sukhumvit. Honestly, I was just celebrating my new condo with a drink. The place was dimly lit, music pumping, and filled with the usual mix of expats and locals. That's when I saw Maya. She had this magnetic presence, petite, stunning, with eyes that seemed to see right through you. She was working behind the bar, laughing with customers, completely in her element. When she smiled at me, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. "You're new here," she said in perfect English, sliding a beer across the bar. "How'd you know?" "You still have hope in your eyes." She laughed, but there was something deeper in her voice. Most guys lose that after a few months in Bangkok. I should have paid attention to that warning. We talked for hours that night. Maya was different from what I expected. She was studying business at university, working nights to pay for school. She had dreams beyond the bar scene, wanted to open her own restaurant someday. "What about you?" she asked. "What brings you to Thailand permanently?" "Freedom, I guess. Back home I was just another guy in a cubicle. Here I can be whoever I want to be." She nodded like she understood. Everyone comes to Bangkok looking for something. The question is whether they find it or lose themselves instead. Over the next few weeks, I became a regular at Maya's bar. Not because I was obsessed, at least that's what I told myself, but because she was genuinely interesting. We'd talk about everything: her dreams, my work, philosophy, life. She was cautious at first. When I asked her out on a real date, she'd politely decline. "I don't date customers," she'd say with that smile that could melt steel. But I was persistent. Not in a creepy way, but in a way that showed I was serious about getting to know her beyond the bar atmosphere. Finally, she agreed to meet me for lunch on her day off. That first real date changed everything. Away from the bar, Maya was even more captivating. We walked through Chatuchak Market, tried street food, talked about our childhoods. She told me about growing up in Isan, how her family struggled, why education meant everything to her. When I walked her back to her apartment that evening, she stopped at the door. "Thank you for today," she said. "It's been a long time since someone treated me like just me." I wanted to kiss her, but something told me to wait. This was bigger than a hookup. This felt real. "Can I see you again?" I asked. She looked at me for a long moment. "Maybe," she said, and disappeared inside. Maybe. In Bangkok, maybe was practically a yes. 3 months later, Maya had quit her bar job and moved into my condo. It happened gradually. First, she started staying over on weekends, then a few nights during the week. Her things slowly migrated from her tiny apartment to my spacious one. When her roommate situation fell apart, it seemed natural for her to move in completely. "Are you sure about this?" she asked, standing in my living room with her 2 suitcases. I've never been more sure of anything. And I meant it. Maya brought life to that condo. She'd cook traditional Thai dishes that made the whole place smell like heaven. She'd redecorate little corners, adding touches that made it feel like home, instead of just another rental. She was also incredibly affectionate. After months of being cautious, she couldn't keep her hands off me. We'd spend entire days in bed, talking, laughing, making love like teenagers. "I love this life we're building," she'd whisper as we watched Bangkok's lights twinkle from our balcony. I loved it too. More than I'd ever loved anything. But here's what I should have noticed. Maya never talked about finding a new job. When I brought it up, she'd change the subject or say she was figuring things out. The restaurant dream seemed to fade into the background. Love really does make you blind to red flags waving right in your face. The first red flag I couldn't ignore came 3 months after Maya moved in. I was working at my desk when she bounced over with that excited energy she got when she had news. "Baby, guess what? My family wants to meet you." "That's great," I said, still typing. "When?" "Tonight. They're already on their way from Udon Thani." I stopped typing. "Tonight? As in today?" "Yes. My mom, stepdad, and little brother. They'll stay here for a few days. My one-bedroom condo." "Where?" "Exactly where they planning to sleep." But Maya was so happy, so excited to introduce me to her family, that I swallowed my concerns. How bad could it be? Pretty bad, as it turned out. Maya's family descended on my condo like a friendly invasion. Her mother, Nim, was sweet but spoke no English. Her stepdad, Somchai, was a stocky man who immediately claimed my recliner and remote control. Her 19-year-old brother, Lek, treated my gaming setup like his personal arcade. They set up camp in my living room, spreading mattresses and blankets everywhere. The smell of som tam and sticky rice became permanent. My grocery bill tripled overnight. What bothered me most wasn't the expense or the crowding. It was how they acted like I wasn't there. Somchai would grunt acknowledgements when I said hello, then go back to watching Thai soap operas at maximum volume. They'd have loud conversations in Aizan dialect while I sat right there, completely excluded. "It's just cultural differences," Maya explained when I mentioned feeling like a stranger in my own home. "Thai families are very close. After a week, I assumed they'd head back to Udon Thani. Instead, Maya announced they were extending their stay. My stepdad is looking for work." "In Bangkok," she said casually. "It might take a while." A while turned into 3 weeks. 3 weeks of sharing my bathroom with 5 people, of finding Lek passed out on my couch every morning, of Somchai drinking my beer without asking. When I finally worked up the courage to ask Maya when they might leave, she got defensive. "They're my family. I thought you cared about me." "I do care about you, but this is supposed to be our space." She looked hurt, like I'd slapped her. "Fine, I'll tell them to go." But she didn't. They stayed another week. With Maya's family firmly established in my condo, the financial requests started. It began small. Maya would mention that her mom needed money for medicine, or that Lek wanted to take a computer course. Never direct requests. Just mentions thrown into conversation like casual observations. "My poor mama," she'd sigh while we watched TV. "Her back is so bad, but the good medicine is expensive." I wasn't stupid. I knew what she was doing. But Maya had a way of making these requests seem reasonable, even noble. She was taking care of her family. Wasn't that admirable? The first time I gave her money, 5,000 baht for her mother's medicine, Maya nearly cried with gratitude. "You're so good to me," she said, throwing her arms around my neck. "My family thinks you're an angel." It felt good to be the hero. To be the Western guy who could swoop in and solve problems with money that felt like pocket change to me, but was significant to them. But once that door opened, it never closed. Lek needed money for his girlfriend's birthday. Somchai's motorcycle broke down. Nim wanted to send money to her sister. Each request was presented as an emergency, a one-time thing, with promises that Maya would pay me back once she found work. The payback never came, and Maya's job search seemed to consist entirely of scrolling through her phone while lying in bed. I was supporting 5 people on my salary, and slowly starting to resent it. 6 months into our relationship, I had to fly back to Chicago for a client emergency. A major project was failing, and I needed to be there in person to fix it. "How long will you be gone?" Maya asked, not looking up from her phone. 2 weeks, maybe 3, She nodded absently. Okay, baby, I'll miss you. Her lack of emotion surprised me. When we first got together, even a day apart would have her texting constantly. Now she seemed almost relieved I was leaving. Will you be okay managing everything while I'm gone? I asked. Of course, your girlfriend isn't helpless. But something felt off. Maya had become distant over the past month, less affectionate, more distracted. She spent hours on her phone, often taking calls in the other room. When I asked who she was talking to, she'd say, just friends or family stuff. On the flight to Chicago, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. 3 days into my trip, I tried calling Maya during what should have been afternoon in Bangkok. No answer. I tried again an hour later. Still nothing. When she finally called me back that evening, she sounded breathless. Sorry, baby, I was sleeping. At 3 p.m. I stayed up late watching movies. You know how I am. I did know how she was. Maya was a morning person who rarely napped, but I wanted to trust her, so I let it slide. The next few days followed the same pattern. Missed calls, delayed responses, vague explanations. When I finally got her on video chat, she looked different. Her hair was messier, her makeup more elaborate than usual for someone who was supposedly just hanging around the condo. You look nice, I said. Going somewhere? Just meeting friends for dinner. Which friends? A pause. You don't know them. That's when the real suspicion started. Maya had introduced me to most of her close friends. Who were these mysterious people she was suddenly spending time with? Back in Bangkok, I tried to push my paranoia aside. Maya seemed happy to see me, more affectionate than she'd been before I left. We fell back into our routine. Lazy mornings, Netflix evenings, weekend adventures around the city. But I couldn't stop noticing little things. A new necklace she claimed was a gift from her sister. Perfume I didn't recognize. The way she'd turn her phone face down when I entered the room. You've been quiet since you got back, she said one evening as we ate dinner. Everything okay? Yeah, just tired. Work stuff. She studied my face. You don't trust me. The directness caught me off guard. Why would you say that? The way you watch me, like you're waiting for me to do something wrong. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was being paranoid. Relationships in Bangkok had a reputation for drama, but Maya wasn't like other bar girls. She was educated, ambitious, different. I trust you, I said, but trust and belief are different things, and deep down, I was starting not to believe her. The breaking point came 2 weeks later. I was using Maya's laptop to check my email when a Facebook notification popped up. A message from someone named David Sweden 92. I shouldn't have clicked it. I knew that even as my finger moved toward the trackpad. But curiosity is a powerful drug, and I was already addicted. The message was in English. Missing you so much. Darling, can't wait until next month when I can hold you again. My blood turned to ice. I scrolled up through their conversation. Months of messages, declarations of love, plans for David to visit Bangkok, photos I recognized, Maya in lingerie I'd bought her, posed in my bedroom. She wasn't just cheating. She was building a whole relationship with this guy, using my home as her backdrop. I closed the laptop and walked to the balcony, trying to process what I'd discovered. 20 floors below, Bangkok's traffic hummed like white noise. The city suddenly felt foreign again, like I was seeing it for the first time. Maya was in the shower, singing some Thai pop song, completely unaware that her world was about to collapse. But I didn't want to confront her yet. I wanted the whole truth. Over the next few days, I became a detective in my own relationship. When Maya left to meet friends, I'd check her laptop. When she took long phone calls on the balcony, I'd strain to hear snippets of conversation. Thai. Evidence painted a clear picture. David wasn't her only online boyfriend. She was juggling at least 3 different Western men, all of whom thought they were her one true love. All of whom were sending money. She had profiles on dating sites I'd never heard of. Her Instagram, which she'd claimed was just for friends, was full of thirst-trap photos designed to attract foreign men. In her messages, she referred to me as her sponsor, not her boyfriend. I was financing her operation to scam other guys like me. The rage built slowly, then all at once. I wanted to scream, to throw her laptop off the balcony, to pack her things and change the locks. Instead, I planned, if Maya wanted to play games, I'd show her how games were really played. I created a fake Facebook profile using stock photos of a handsome Swedish guy. Marcus Anderson, 35, worked in tech, loved travel. Basically a more attractive version of David. Within hours, Maya had accepted Marcus's friend request. Within days, she was messaging him. I watched in real time as she deployed the same tactics she'd used on me. The shy, innocent university student act, the family struggling back home, the dreams of opening a restaurant someday. "You seem different from other men," she wrote to Marcus, me. "More serious, more genuine." The irony was almost funny. As Marcus, I played hard to get. I was interested but busy, charming but unavailable. It drove Maya crazy. She started messaging more frequently, sending photos, trying harder to get my attention. Meanwhile, in person, she became more affectionate than she'd been in months. She'd curl up next to me on the couch, play with my hair, talk about our future together. "I've been thinking," she said one evening, "maybe we should make this official. Like, get engaged." I nearly choked on my beer. Engaged? Why not? We love each other. We live together. Your visa situation would be easier if we were married. She was trying to lock me down while shopping for my replacement. The audacity was breathtaking. "Let me think about it," I said. "Of course, baby, no pressure." But there was pressure. Through Marcus, I could see her getting more desperate. David was planning his visit to Bangkok, and she needed to either commit to him or find someone better. Other guys were asking to meet in person, and she was running out of excuses. She needed to secure her primary source of income, me, before her side hustles collapsed. I decided it was time to end the charade, but I wanted Maya to expose herself completely. No room for denial or manipulation. Through Marcus, I arranged to meet her at a coffee shop in Siam. I told her Marcus was finally ready to meet in person, that he'd been impressed by their conversations and wanted to explore something serious. Maya was giddy with excitement. She spent hours getting ready, buying a new dress, doing her hair and makeup, like she was going to a photo shoot. "I'm meeting my friend Nina for coffee," she told me. "Girl talk, you know." "Have fun," I said, not looking up from my laptop. "You don't want to come? You love Nina." I'd never met anyone named Nina. "No, I've got work to catch up on." She kissed my forehead. "Okay, baby, I'll be back in a few hours." I waited 30 minutes after she left, then headed to Siam myself. The coffee shop was crowded, but I spotted Maya immediately. She'd chosen a corner table with good lighting, positioned to show off her best angles. She kept checking her phone, reapplying lipstick, practicing her smile. She was waiting for Marcus, for me, for a man who didn't exist. I watched her for 20 minutes, watched her text frantically when Marcus didn't show up on time, watched her order drink after drink, trying to maintain her composure as it became clear she'd been stood up. Finally, her phone rang. She answered eagerly, thinking it might be Marcus calling to explain. Instead, it was me. "Hey baby, how's your coffee date with Nina going?" Through the crowded cafe, I could see her face change. Confusion, then realization, then pure panic. "It's going fine," she said carefully. "Just girl talk." "That's funny," I said, "because I can see you from across the room and you're sitting alone." She spun around, scanning the crowd until her eyes found mine. Even from 50 feet away, I could see the color drain from her face. "We need to talk," I said into the phone. "Now." Maya tried to run. She actually grabbed her purse and headed for the exit, but I was already moving. I caught up with her outside the shopping center in the middle of the busy sidewalk. "Let me explain," she said, her voice shaking. "Explain what?" "How you've been scamming me for months. How you're juggling multiple boyfriends online. How you're using my home as a backdrop for your con game." People were staring, but I didn't care. Months of suppressed anger were finally pouring out. "It's not what you think," Maya said, tears starting to flow. "I love you. Those other guys don't mean anything." "Then why are you here waiting for Marcus? Why do you have David's visit planned? Why are you telling everyone online that you're single?" She couldn't answer. The elaborate house of lies was crumbling, and we both knew it. "I can explain everything," she whispered. Can we go home and talk privately? Home. She still called. My condo home, even after everything. No, I said. You can explain right here, right now, or you can get your things and leave. Please, baby. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. My family needs money, and you work so much. And I get lonely. So you decided to set up a side business scamming other men? She looked around nervously. We were causing a scene, and in Thailand faces everything. Let's go home, she pleaded. I'll tell you everything. I'll end it with all of them. We can start over. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Maybe I still loved her. Maybe I was hoping for some explanation that would make sense of everything, or maybe I just wanted to hear her try to lie her way out of the impossible. Back at the condo, Maya confessed to everything. Not because she wanted to, but because I had screenshots of all her conversations, copies of her dating profiles, evidence of money transfers from multiple men. She'd been running her operation for over a year, long before we met. I wasn't her first live-in boyfriend. I was just the most successful one. The restaurant dream was fake. The university classes were fake. Even her family's financial emergencies were mostly fake. How much money have you taken from me? I asked. She looked at the floor. I don't know exactly. Guess. Maybe 200,000 baht. Over 6 months. About $6,000. Plus the rent, utilities, food, and family expenses I'd been covering. I'd been supporting her entire extended family while she saved money from her other relationships. And the others? David and the rest? David sends about $50,000 baht per month. The others, less. I did the math. Maya was pulling in more money than most Thai professionals, all by manipulating lonely foreign men. Why me? I asked. Why move in with me specifically? She was crying now, but I suspected even the tears were calculated. Because you're kind, she said. And stable. And you really cared about me. The others just want sex or a trophy girlfriend. You wanted to build something real. So you decided to destroy it. I never meant for it to go this far. I was going to end it with the others, but then my family needed money, and David was planning to visit, and I got scared. Scared of what? Scared you'd find out and leave me. Scared I'd lose the best thing that ever happened to me. The manipulation was masterful. Even while confessing to betraying me, she was positioning herself as the victim, me as the savior. She couldn't bear to lose, but I was done being manipulated. Pack your things, I said. I want you out by tomorrow. Baby, please, I'll change. I'll be different. I love you. No, you don't. You love what I provide. There's a difference. She tried every tactic in her playbook. Tears, anger, promises, threats, seduction. When nothing worked, she played her final card. Fine, she said, standing up with sudden dignity. But you're making a mistake. You'll never find another Thai girl who loves you like I do. They'll all just want your money. The truth was finally out. In Maya's world, love and money were the same thing. She couldn't understand the difference. Maya moved out the next day, but not quietly. She took things that weren't hers, my iPad, some jewelry I'd bought her that was expensive, even food from my refrigerator. When I confronted her about it, she claimed everything was gifts. You gave these to me because you love me, she said, holding my iPad. Now you want them back because you're angry. That's not how love works. I let her take the stuff. It was easier than fighting, and I wanted her gone. But Maya's departure didn't end our story. She started a campaign to get me back that was both pathetic and infuriating. First came the messages. Dozens of them at all hours, from different phone numbers. Apologies, promises, declarations of love. When I blocked her numbers, she created new Facebook accounts to contact me. Then came the visits. She'd show up at my condo building, crying in the lobby, until security called me. She'd wait at coffee shops I frequented, coincidentally running into me with tears and pleas for reconciliation. The worst part was how she positioned our breakup to mutual friends. According to Maya, I was the villain who'd abandoned her over a misunderstanding. She was the heartbroken girlfriend who'd made a small mistake and was being punished unfairly. Some people believed her. The expat community in Bangkok loves drama, and Maya was beautiful and sympathetic. I started getting texts from acquaintances asking if I was really going to throw away love over jealousy. It was maddening. Maya had rewritten our entire relationship casting herself as the victim and me as the cruel foreign boyfriend who'd used her and thrown her away. I needed to set the record straight, but I also needed to protect myself. Maya still had copies of my apartment key, knew my schedule, had access to my personal information. If I humiliated her publicly, there was no telling how she might retaliate. That's when I decided on revenge that would be poetic, not just destructive. Knew Maya's weakness, her pride. She saw herself as smarter than the men she manipulated, more sophisticated than other bar girls, destined for something greater. Her entire self-image was built on being special. So I decided to show her exactly how ordinary her game was. I created a detailed blog post documenting our entire relationship. Not angry or vindictive, just factual. Screenshots of her dating profiles, examples of her manipulation tactics, a timeline of her lies. I presented it as a case study in Romance Scams in Bangkok, a personal experience, but I didn't publish it under my name or share it publicly. Instead, I sent it anonymously to the email addresses of David and her other online boyfriends, which I'd found in her message history. I also sent it to some expat forums and Facebook groups where Maya was active, again anonymously, not as gossip, but as a warning to other foreign men about sophisticated scamming techniques. Within 48 hours, Maya's entire operation collapsed. David and the others confronted her with the evidence. Her income stream dried up overnight. Worse, her reputation in the expat community was destroyed. Everyone knew her face, her techniques, her game. She couldn't start over in Bangkok. Every bar, every dating app, every expat hangout was now off limits. The community might be large, but it's also surprisingly small. Word travels fast. Maya called me, furious and desperate. "You destroyed my life," she screamed into the phone. "No," I said calmly. "I just told the truth. You destroyed your own life. Nobody will date me now. I can't work anywhere. How am I supposed to survive? Maybe try being honest for once. Get a real job. Build something legitimate. You bastard. You think you're so much better than me, but you're just another lonely foreign man who had to pay for love." She wasn't wrong about the lonely part, but I hadn't paid for love. I'd paid for lies. "Good luck, Maya," I said and hung up. I thought that would be the end of it. Maya would leave Bangkok, start over somewhere else, and I'd get back to my peaceful expat life. I was wrong. 2 weeks after the blog post went viral in Bangkok expat circles, I came home to find my condo door jimmied open. Nothing was stolen, but the place was trashed. Furniture overturned, clothes scattered, my laptop screen cracked. A message was spray-painted on my bedroom wall in red paint. "Farang loser." I called the police, but they were less than helpful. No witnesses, no security footage, no evidence of who might have done it. The officer taking my report spoke perfect English, but seemed more interested in my visa status than the break-in. "Maybe you should consider moving," he suggested. "Sometimes it's better to start fresh." I got the message. Maya might be blacklisted from the expat community, but she was still Thai, still connected, still protected by networks I'd never understand. Over the next month, the harassment escalated. My motorbike tires were slashed. Someone called in noise complaints about my condo, leading to angry visits from building management. I received anonymous threats through fake social media accounts. The final straw came when I found out someone had reported me to immigration for working illegally. Even though I had proper documentation, the investigation was stressful and expensive. Bangkok was turning against me, and I realized Maya's revenge was more sophisticated than mine had been. I'd attacked her reputation. She was attacking my entire life in Thailand. 6 months after our breakup, I made the decision to leave Bangkok. It wasn't just the harassment, though that was part of it. The city had become poisoned for me. Every bar reminded me of Maya. Every beautiful Thai woman made me wonder if she was running the same game. I'd become paranoid, suspicious, unable to trust my own judgment. I'd won the battle, but lost the war. Last week in Bangkok, I ran into Maya at a shopping mall in Sukhumvit. She looked different, thinner, tired, wearing cheaper clothes than before. Her hair was back to its natural black instead of the highlighted brown she'd preferred. She saw me first and could have walked away. Instead, she approached, leaving. Thailand, she asked, nodding at the suitcase I was carrying. Yeah, time for a change. She studied my face. Good. This place isn't good for you anymore. There was no anger in her voice, no bitterness. She sounded almost sad. What about you? I asked. Still in Bangkok? For now. Working at a hotel in reception. Real job, honest work. She smiled slightly. Like you said I should. We stood there awkwardly, two people who'd destroyed each other's lives in different ways. I'm sorry, she said suddenly, for everything. For lying to you, for using you, for after. The apology surprised me. Maya had never admitted wrongdoing before. The break-in? I asked. She looked away. That wasn't me, but I know who it was. My brother and his friends, they were angry about what happened to my family's income. And the immigration thing? Also not me, but also not something I stopped. She met my eyes. I was hurt and angry. I wanted you to hurt too. At least she was being honest now. Are you happy? I asked. She considered the question seriously. No, but I'm learning to be. Real happiness, not the fake kind I was selling before. I nodded. Good luck with that. You too. Maybe Thailand wasn't right for you, but somewhere will be. She walked away, without looking back, disappearing into the crowd of shoppers. I'm writing this from Lisbon, Portugal, where I've been living for the past year. It's a different kind of expat life. Quieter, more European, less exotic, but also less complicated. Looking back on Bangkok, I can see my mistakes clearly now. I'd gone to Thailand looking for a fantasy, and Maya had been happy to sell me one. When reality intruded, neither of us handled it well. Did I get my revenge? Technically, yes. I exposed Maya's operation and destroyed her scamming career. But revenge is a funny thing. It often costs the winner as much as the loser. I lost more than money in Bangkok. I lost trust, innocence, faith in my own judgment. I learned that love and manipulation can look identical from the inside. I discovered that being right doesn't always feel good. Maya was a professional liar, but I was a willing mark. She played her role perfectly, but I'd created the character she was playing. The vulnerable student, the loving girlfriend, the woman who needed saving, those were all fantasies I'd wanted to believe in. The truth is, I'd gone to Bangkok not just for freedom, but for ego. I wanted to be the successful Western man who could rescue a beautiful Thai woman from poverty. I wanted to be the hero of someone else's story. Maya saw that need and exploited it brilliantly. She gave me exactly what I was looking for, then used it to take everything she could. Bangkok is a city of mirrors. It reflects back whatever you bring to it, amplified and distorted. If you come looking for easy sex, you'll find it, along with all the complications that come with commodified intimacy. If you come looking for cheap living, you'll find that too, until you discover what cheap really costs. If you come looking to be someone different, someone better, someone more important than you were back home, Bangkok will let you play that role, for a price. The expat community there is full of men running from something: failed marriages, career disappointments, social awkwardness, age, loneliness. Bangkok offers them a reset button, a chance to be the men they always wanted to be. But you can't build a real life on fantasy. Eventually, reality intrudes. The beautiful girlfriend who adores you reveals herself to be a professional. The cheap cost of living becomes expensive when you're supporting extended families. The freedom to reinvent yourself becomes a prison when you realize you've just become a different kind of trapped. Maya wasn't evil. She was entrepreneurial. In a country where the minimum wage is 300 baht per day, she'd found a way to make more money than most college graduates. She provided a service: companionship, ego-stroking, the girlfriend experience, and she was paid well for it. The problem was that I didn't know I was a customer. I thought I was a boyfriend. After leaving Bangkok, I spent months researching romance scams and Bangkok's bar culture. What I discovered was an entire ecosystem built around the economic inequality between Western men and Thai women. It's not just about deception, it's about survival. For women like Maya, foreign boyfriends represent economic opportunity that doesn't exist elsewhere in Thai society. A single month's allowance from a Western man equals what many Thais make in 6 months of regular work. The system works because both sides get something they want. Western men get youth, beauty, and attention they can't buy at home. Thai women get financial security and a path out of poverty. The problems arise when emotions get involved, when someone starts believing the performance is real. Maya had turned emotional manipulation into a profession. She studied her targets, learned their weaknesses, played their fantasies back to them. She was good at her job, maybe too good. Even she seemed to lose track sometimes of what was performance and what was real. But I wasn't innocent either. I'd participated in a system that commodifies relationships, then acted shocked when I discovered my relationship was a commodity. Just when I thought my Bangkok story was over, I got one last surprise. I was settled in Lisbon, working on a new project, when I received a Facebook message from an account I didn't recognize. The profile picture was Maya, but older, more mature looking. "Hi," the message read. "I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know something important." I stared at the message for a long time before responding. "What?" "I'm getting married to someone I met at work, a Thai man. We've been together for 8 months and it's different, real." I didn't know what to say. "Congratulations" seemed wrong given our history. "Why are you telling me this?" I typed. "Because you were right about something." I didn't know what real love felt like until now. What I had with all of you. It wasn't love. It was business. But I didn't understand the difference. Then, a pause, then another message appeared. "I thought you deserved to know that your revenge worked. Not because it destroyed my life, but because it forced me to build a real one." I found myself smiling despite everything. Maybe the ending wasn't as tragic as I'd thought. "Are you happy?" I asked. "Yes. Scared, but happy. He knows about my past, everything. And he chose me anyway. That's how I know it's real." "What about your family? The money pressure?" "That was real too, but Kuhn is helping me find better ways to support them. Legal ways. We're opening a small restaurant together. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. Ours." The restaurant dream hadn't been entirely fake after all. "I owe you an apology," she continued. "A real one. Not for getting caught, but for lying to you in the first place. You deserved better." "We both made mistakes," I replied. "Maybe. But mine were bigger. I hope you find what you're looking for wherever you are. I think I already have, and that was true. In Lisbon, I'd found something I hadn't been looking for in Bangkok. Peace with myself. I wasn't trying to be anyone else anymore, wasn't running from anything, wasn't trying to buy happiness or importance. Take care of yourself, Maya. You too, and thank you." "For what?" "For showing me the difference between being wanted and being loved." A year later, I can look back on my Bangkok experience with something approaching gratitude. Not for the pain or the money lost or the dramatic ending, but for the education. I learned that you can't escape yourself by changing locations. Your problems, insecurities, and weaknesses travel with you. If you're lonely in Chicago, you'll eventually be lonely in Bangkok too, just with different scenery. I learned that when something seems too good to be true, it usually is. But we often ignore that wisdom when we desperately want the too good thing to be real. I learned that revenge is a luxury you can't afford when you're already wounded. It feels satisfying in the moment, but it keeps you connected to the thing that hurt you, prevents you from moving forward cleanly. Most importantly, I learned that authentic relationships require authentic people. As long as I was playing the role of the successful expat rescuing the struggling local, I was going to attract people who wanted to play the corresponding role. Real love requires both people to show up as themselves, not as characters in each other's fantasies. Bangkok taught me these lessons the hard way, but maybe that was the only way I would have learned them. Some wisdom only comes through pain. Still get messages sometimes from guys planning their first trips to Bangkok, asking for advice. They've heard the stories, both the fairy tales and the horror stories, and they want to know how to avoid the pitfalls while still having the adventure. My advice is always the same. Be honest about what you're looking for, and be prepared to pay the real price for it. If you want uncomplicated fun, Bangkok can provide that. But acknowledge it's a transaction. Treat everyone involved with respect, and don't confuse performance with affection. If you want a real relationship, you can find that too. But you'll need to look beyond the bars and dating apps designed for tourism. You'll need to bring your authentic self, not the character you think someone wants to date. And if you're running from something, loneliness, failure, age, rejection, Bangkok won't fix those problems. It will just dress them up in prettier packaging until the novelty wears off. Maya and I were both running from something. She was running from poverty and limited options. I was running from ordinary life and ordinary problems. We found each other in that space between reality and fantasy, and we used each other to avoid dealing with our real issues. The relationship was doomed from the start, but it took months of lies and drama for us to face that truth. Now, living in Lisbon, dating Portuguese women my own age, building friendships based on shared interests rather than financial arrangements, I understand what I was really looking for in Bangkok. I wanted to matter to someone. I wanted to be needed, desired, appreciated in ways I hadn't felt back home. But trying to buy those feelings leads to hollow relationships with people who are paid to provide them. Real mattering comes from real connections with people who choose you for who you are, not what you can provide. Bangkok gave me an expensive education in that truth. Maya was an excellent teacher, even if neither of us realized that's what was happening at the time. I don't regret the experience anymore. I regret how I handled it, how long it took me to see clearly how much damage we did to each other. But the experience itself taught me things I needed to know about myself, about relationships, about the difference between fantasy and reality. Sometimes the most valuable lessons come disguised as the worst mistakes. If you've made it this far in my story, you might be wondering if I'm bitter about Bangkok, about Thailand, about the whole experience. The truth is more complicated than that. Bangkok is a beautiful, chaotic, intoxicating city that offers genuine opportunities for adventure, growth, and even love. But it's also a place where fantasy and reality blur in dangerous ways, where economic desperation creates markets for things that shouldn't be commodified, where lonely people prey on each other in cycles of mutual exploitation. Maya wasn't a victim or a villain. She was a woman making the best choices available to her in a system that offered few good options. I wasn't a victim or a villain either. I was a man who wanted something real but was willing to settle for something fake as long as it felt good. We were both responsible for what happened between us. She chose deception. I chose willful blindness. She exploited my loneliness. I exploited her economic desperation. We hurt each other because hurt people, and we were both more damaged than we wanted to admit. The revenge I got felt satisfying for about 5 minutes. Then it just felt empty. Destroying someone else's life doesn't fix your own problems, it just creates new ones. Real healing came later, when I stopped focusing on what Maya had done to me and started examining what I had done to myself. When I stopped trying to be someone else and started working on being a better version of who I actually was. That work didn't require exotic locations or dramatic gestures. It required honesty, patience, and the willingness to build something real instead of chasing something spectacular. Bangkok will always be part of my story, but it's no longer the most important part. These days, I'm more interested in writing new chapters than rereading old ones. Maya was right about one thing. Everyone goes to Bangkok looking for something. The lucky ones figure out what they actually need and find ways to get it honestly. The unlucky ones keep chasing mirages until they forget what they were originally looking for. I was lucky enough to learn the difference before it was too late.